took about 7 seconds to create a variation to test. It was that fast.
That's our aim.
Product page is part of a journey, right? There's a lot of industry data that sending people to custom landing pages versus product pages converts drastically better.
Okay, I've got my foundation built, but what happens when I deviate? In Shogun, we have our own segment builder. It's like they're coming from this referral source, and then we've made it also really easy to understand who the winner is. And the biggest joy for a lot of folks is probably going to be
stop sending your traffic to product pages. Nick, the co-founder and CEO of Shogun, is revolutionizing how Shopify brands design, A/B test, and personalize every product landing page on your store.
Like SEO used to be what you focused on. Then social media, I think, I am blown away sometimes how easy it actually is to rank for something with one blog post.
Totally.
Literally. If you increase something 1% every day, at the end of a year, how much do you think you've grown your business?
Dude, don't keep me in suspense here, Jay.
Okay. Nick, so good to have you on the show.
Yeah.
I'm going to break the ice a little bit here.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask an awkward question right off the start before we even get into intros.
Shoot.
What were you doing 15 minutes before this call?
So doing 15 minutes before this call, making my bed. That's yeah. I was like, oh, I've got 15 minutes. Got bumped back a little bit, and I was like, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna keep that promise to myself that I will get up out of my chair, away from my computer, every couple hours, take a couple steps. So I kind of stagger my house chores to line up with me taking breaks from the compuder.
Like that just says a ton about you. Like you weren't like eating a chocolate bar or on Instagram. You're a good person already.
Oh, thanks. Yeah. And you're not supposed to make your bed right in the morning. I don't know if you didn't know that. I made my bed right in the morning for years and years. But you're supposed to like let your sheets and everything have time to like air out and all that, and then you make it later on in the day.
Is that? Are you just making this up, or is that real?
No, it's true.
Real?
Yeah. For real.
Like the sweat from when you sleep.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Because when you sleep, like you have all this. I don't want to say like bio whatever film or sweat or stuff like that. But yeah, technically that stuff gets on your sheets. So unless you're washing your sheets every day, when you wake up, you don't necessarily want to make your bed. You want to like leave things open, let things air out, and all that, and then go and make your bed later.
So you're telling me like that soldier that gave that address at university that said, you want to change your life, make your bed every morning?
Yeah, I get where they're coming from, because that's like a behavior modification thing, right? So if you're a person who's particularly disorganized and you need that type of thing where, making your bed is going to give you that reinforcement for like starting your day very organized and structured. The pros probably outweigh the cons in that scenario. But yeah, if you've been in the routine of making your bed pretty consistently, life's pretty organized, probably good to leave the bed unmade for at least a few hours, let things air out.
Well, now that we got a little insight into your personal life and we know who you are as a person, let's talk a bit about your professional life, which is, totally. I know, going to be super exciting for our listeners. So you're one of the co-founders of Shogun. What is Shogun, first of all?
Yeah, for sure. So Shogun is an e-commerce experience management platform that empowers merchants to craft the website experience that is most optimal for their customers and optimize it for conversion.
I like that it used to be Shogun Page Builder. That's correct. Now it's Experience Manager, Shogun Experience Manager.
Yeah, I should probably know the exact, like the super brief slogan off the top of my head. But yes, we have effectively moved into experience management and conversion rate optimization. And so we've introduced, tooling like A/B testing, personalization, search engine optimization feature sets. Because once you build a page, one doesn't simply build a page in e-commerce without trying to optimize it for the most sales that they can possibly get.
Okay, so I love this, and I want to get into this, but let's just set the stage a little bit for people listening. So, like, as a page builder, why? Yeah. Tell me about it. Like, why would someone use it?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I would say that a lot of folks, they come with a certain amount of functionality that's just based from the e-commerce platform, right? Like Shopify, BigCommerce, even Salesforce Commerce Cloud, they all have some modicum of a visual editor, right? But I would say that generally, and you can challenge me on this, you probably fall into two different use cases there. Either you're an aspirational entrepreneur who you're going to look at that editor and say, perfect, this resembles Squarespace in a lot of ways. I don't get a ton of liberties with control, but it basically takes my current theme and allows me to do some amount of customization. And it's perfect if you're that aspirational entrepreneur, or even a small SMB, right? Or you might be existing in a paradigm where you're a much larger brand, you're mid-market enterprise, let's say that you're between 50 to 100 million annual gross merchandising volume. And you've gone and you've had, your agency, because we have a ton of great agencies in these various platform ecosystems, go and build out these custom blocks, right? And that's the foundation of your site. But what happens when you want something unique, like you want to, test out versions of your homepage, or you want to create a series of pages that's a funnel coming, from for a specific campaign, right?
Yeah.
It's going to get a little burdensome having to go and ping your agency or your internal developer resources to just go make those, relatively aesthetic, changes to the page. And so, the first mission of Shogun was to really democratize website editing, content management, page creation for non-technical team members, marketers, designers, merchandisers. And so in that, and I would, obviously I'm biased, but I would encourage anybody to go take Shogun's editor for a spin. It really does go into the nines on the fine-grained controls and configurations that you can do for page elements and for the visual presentation layer without having to write a single line of code. Yeah.
Yeah. It's, I use it, first of all. I have... Yeah. I don't know if I'm paying for it, but I have a version of it on my brother's store. Deal. I think I got a sweet partner account. I think I got a sweet deal at one point, but nice. I will say it is, as someone who builds pages in Shopify and also in Shogun, like I always prefer to build them in Shogun. It's
oh, thank you.
I don't want to speak too much for it, but like a lot of the things like the templates, the pre-built templates that you have, like what do you call them? You call them blocks?
Yeah. Templates. And we also have blocks when they're broken down to their modular components. Yeah.
Right. So like standard things when you're thinking about a landing page, like you have kind of pre-built and then you can easily go in and tweak them and edit them. Like the speed of which you can build with it is so much faster than with Shopify. And
Thank you. Oh, I was going to say, and that brings up a really good point, because it's like, how do you want to quantify the value of a function like that, right? Website updates and all that. You can look at, the delta between what it would take a developer and a marketer to do that type of work, because there does tend to be a difference. And to be clear, there's still plenty of space for developers to work on much harder problems, in these businesses. So you can think about it in that way. What's that delta? The second thing, though, that you just started harping on is speed, right? Because when you are looking to go and launch campaigns, or a really big example is using Shogun to rapidly launch in a new market, which we have power tools for that, right? Being able to do multi-site content management, not just on an inter-site, but also intra-site basis. You have to think about the opportunity cost of not getting to market or not making that change sooner. Because that agility is actually quite valuable in terms of what it could result in more sales.
Have data. I looked some of this up before the show, but I'm wondering if this is like stuff that you track, like typically someone would create an ad on Facebook and then send them to a product page.
Yep.
And I think product pages serve a purpose, but a product page, like for those listening that right now, they might be thinking like, why do I need a page builder? I have product pages, I have collections, I have a homepage, but a product page is part of a journey, right? You land on the homepage and it's very much selling the story and everything about your brand. And then you might go to a collection page that has more, has some testimonials, has some social proof, has a bit of, and then you go to a product page. A product page is generally designed for speed of ordering, without too much clutter, but enough information. But then they run these Facebook ads and then they send them to product pages and they see somewhat poor conversion. They convert, but maybe not the greatest.
Yeah.
There's a lot of industry data that sending people to custom landing pages versus product pages converts drastically better. We're talking 20, 30, 40% better than product pages. Are these like metrics that you track or anything, or like internally, or?
That's a great question. Not off the top of my head, like it's not an ongoing project that we have, but that's, it is something that, how do I put it? We should actually technically be able to get at that data because we do have an analytics offering, right?
Right.
Our analytics offering is is what underpins our conversion rate optimization software. So we should actually be able to ascertain that, but it doesn't really, surprise me that it's higher converting, and it kind of, it speaks to, some of these, I don't want to say older businesses, but, at this point, some names that maybe haven't been spoken for a while, like ClickFunnels, right? Mm-hmm. Like you don't need a website, you need, a funnel that tells your brand story, right? And, obviously, I think Ezra Firestone, kind of pioneering things, especially in the Shopify ecosystem, with these high converting, long form landing page templates and stuff.
Yeah.
And so, it's that is absolutely how we view things, and where we view most of Shogun's value being is not necessarily in those foundational aspects of your site, because candidly, honestly, if you can build it within the native platform and that serves you well, why change a good thing? You know what I mean? Or if that works for you. We do have plenty of customers that they value our content management power tooling, our multi-site support, our campaign management tooling that they build almost all of their visual presentation later in Shogun. But I think that viewing Shogun in that paradigm of being a more campaign oriented to, okay, I've got my foundation built, but what happens when I deviate? What happens when I want to make a custom landing page specific that tells a specific brand story, or that's to a specific campaign?
Yeah.
Or what if, we have the ability to serve personalized versions of audience level personalized versions, different versions of a homepage based on what the shopper demographics are, right? And so it's those are more of the use cases that we're starting to put a lot more focus in, based on the fact that we've built a strong foundation in page building, content management over past, close to a decade. So,
yeah, I mean, it makes so much sense. And, for those listening, if you don't know Ezra Firestone, or if you don't know ClickFunnels, you've probably clicked on an ad at some point for some product and landed on a page that is this like long form content. It'll have a video from someone, and then some more content. It'll have testimonials, and then maybe another video, and then some product photos. And it's really, multiple steps along the way. You can choose to purchase. You don't have to scroll all the way to the bottom, but it's designed to take someone from zero knowledge to a sale, which product pages typically aren't. And then, so like, that's one of the reasons I'm a huge proponent of I was going to say page builders, but experience managers like Shogun, because it's product pages are not being used the right way. People are using them as landing pages, and they're not. Like, product pages should not be landing pages. But there's this other stat when I was looking it up earlier today that, okay, so for companies that have on average one landing page, like not any more than one, their conversion goes up roughly 9.7%. But for companies that found, and this is from a company called, actually two, Marketer's Best Friend and Hostinger both had these stats. But companies that had 10 to 15 different landing pages based on, I guess, like where the customer's coming from, who they are, saw an average of 55% increase in conversion.
Yeah.
And that really got me excited, because I was poking around in Shogun earlier today, and seeing some of the things with A/B testing, but also personalization. Like I went in, okay, let's talk about personalization. Like, what can you personalize in Shogun?
Totally. Yeah. So we, and I'll say like the way that we define it, for our purposes is audience level personalization. So what does that mean? We're generally, actually, I should say we also have an integration with Klaviyo that supports, customer level, based on my understanding. But going back, one of the core use cases that we take the browser data, right? Based on the customer's geolocation, the referring URL. Also we know what time of day it is for them. Let's see what else. I mean, there's a pretty relatively long list. What their device type is like, right?
Yeah. All of that time of day of week. Are they a returning visitor?
Yes. New versus returning. Yep.
So what by refer, you're someone coming from a Google search versus an Instagram ad.
Yeah.
Can have a different variation of a page.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah. And so basically we have all of these attributes, audience level attributes from the browser data. And you can use that in Shogun. We have our own segment builder, and obviously segmentation, I think, is really something on the minds of more and more merchants in 2025. And you can effectively build segments using conditional statements, like they're coming from this referral source and they're located in this geolocation, in this geolocation based on, state or city or what have you. And so you can do those, those combinations with conditionals and or statements, build those segments. And then you can create, multiple variants or versions of the page that are more personalized or at least more relevant, right, to those, to that specific audience. Similarly,
so good.
Thank you. And similarly, we're also supporting customer level personalization through an integration, CDP integration. So right now we're starting off one with Klaviyo. So if you have a customer list of, let's say, your VIP customers, and you've segmented that off, and you want to send them, through one of your campaigns, a personalized landing page experience that's just for those VIPs, including a deal that's just for those VIPs. You can do that. You can do that using Shogun as well. And that kind of brings us to the person one-to-one level.
Yeah. And then, so this is not just like, to be clear, you don't have to create a whole new page for each of these situations. It can be a block. You could
totally
change the title, like welcome Instagrammers, or like you search on Google, you found it. I don't know. Like it can just be the words in one section. It's not starting from scratch for each one.
Yes. Yeah. Correct. Basically, because effectively what you would do is you have your, your base version of the page. And so you can just, you just duplicate it, and then you can bring in the block.
Change in one.
Just change one thing. Right.
Yeah.
And that's generally, I mean, I think that in fact, if we were to move and, on to talking about A/B testing, that would be the exact rule of thumb for A/B testing. Is you actually don't want to change the whole page. You want to make just one small incremental change. And so that is definitely the page building paradigm that the editor supports.
That was the next thing I wanted to talk about was A/B testing. I've used a number of A/B testing platforms, and I refamiliarized myself this morning with yours, and like it took about 7 seconds to create a variation to test. And I did a simple one. I changed the color of a button, created a variant and a page variant, and said make it 50%. I literally think it took 7 seconds to do that. It was that fast.
That's our aim. And again, this is a lot about like how we initially democratized access to, to basically website development, or website edits for non-technical personas. Implementing CRO software can be difficult, and setting it up, even figuring out how to use it. And we wanted to create a user interface and a user experience that again, really democratize that type of offering to merchants, at any level of technical acumen. And we do want to make it as simple as that. So I'm glad it only took you a couple seconds. And yeah, you can create for us. We support multivariate, so it's not limited to just A/B. You can do A, B, C, etc. You can control your traffic flow, right? So if you've got the scaries, this is my first A/B test. Totally understand you. You can elect to just send 10% of your traffic to the variant. You can keep 90% with the base until you know that it performs better. It might take you a lot longer to get to a statistical significance with the amount of traffic, if you're limiting that, unless you're a really, really big brand. But yeah, and then we've made it also really easy to understand, who the winner is. And the biggest joy for a lot of folks is probably going to be this. Because we married the value proposition of page building and content management with the CRO functionality. To my understanding, usually if you're using a piece of CRO software, like that's not the source of truth for your website, right? They're basically doing browser manipulation. So Correct. If you find a variant that really works, you're going to have to go and have, again, someone technical go rebuild that winning variant for you. But with Shogun, such is not the case, right?
It's already built.
Yeah, you exactly. You get that winning variant. You can just, you can even set it so it's automatically promoted to base. And then you're just constantly iterating from there.
I mean, every single person should probably be doing A/B testing. I think it was that page I saw. You've got this, calculator. Like if you just increased your conversion 5% or 10% or whatever.
Yeah.
If you heard the 1% rule.
No, please tell me.
So it's if you increase something 1%, every day, at the end of a year, how much do you think you've grown your business?
Oh, it compounds, pretty significantly.
Take a wild guess.
Dude, don't keep me in suspense here. Jay.
Okay,
what's that? Yeah,
37x.
37x, yeah.
Yeah, so 3,700% if you increase 1% a day, right? And so never underestimate the importance of increasing something a few percent here. You increase one landing page, one product page, one collection page, it compounds, right? So I think,
totally.
Is there anything that you have found brands like fun facts that we found that orange buttons convert way better than green, or image sliders, any neat findings from A/B tests?
That's a great question. We haven't really we're still, it's relatively new. We released the features, I think, general availability in February. And so, at this point we have, many, many hundreds of merchants adopting them. I think we're coming up on, about 1,000 at this point.
Yeah.
That said, we're still kind of collecting and processing all that data. It is something that we do plan to do because, ultimately and perhaps unsurprisingly, we're on the machine learning AI bandwagon. And so ultimately, we want to take context from, not just from CRO best practices and visual design best practices and best practices by vertical, right? Because, many e-commerce businesses can be wildly different by vertical for what's successful, but also truly understanding all of the context of your store from what we can see that's built in Shogun and from what we can see just based on what we can glean from the browser. And based off of that, having a much better sense of what would uniquely actually would result in increased conversion for your business. And because we have, analytics suite, obviously we know the output, including the most important one, which is, did it drive more sales, right? Did it result actually in more GMV? And so we do hope to actually start, processing the data to be able to say definitively answer questions like that. Hopefully towards the end of 2025, which is something I'm pretty excited for.
I just want to know what buy button color is the best, Nick.
That's a good question. Off the top of my head, it's probably the one that's, that pops, that pops, but that's not, unless your brand is is playing with a lot of red hues maybe doesn't necessarily convey the. Bold actually. Your guys's buttons I'm sure are all red because it's that great accent. Yeah, totally. At this point I'm just kind of giving my own personal design.
Yeah. Well, you should have. It'll be interesting. I feel like you could put out a blog post on the 10 lessons learned from 1,000 A/B tests or something where I don't know. I guess I follow a few people on Instagram and now my feed is half A/B tests and it's like, comment to, we'll tell you which one won or, winners of this A/B test. And I've gotten pretty good now. Like I can tell like, oh yeah, that one converts better. I know, but it's sometimes not what you would expect.
Total. That is one thing I will say is I've been surprised. I have seen like some results and I'm just like, oh, wow. Even, I guess what I'm saying is sometimes what I would think is most aesthetically pleasing isn't, or on brand or whatever, you can do some things that actually can even minorly deviate from that. And convert better. And it's,
here's one that I found that is interesting. The collection pages.
Yeah.
Hero images on collection pages, which a lot of stores do. You land on like sweaters or bottoms, whatever, and you see a big hero image on the top of a lifestyle photo of someone wearing a sweater. Like I've always thought that's a good thing.
Yeah.
It reinforces kind of like shows that lifestyle image.
Lifestyle stuff. Yeah.
But I've seen multiple tests from multiple brands that hero images on collection pages slightly decrease conversion. I guess it pushes down the products below the fold a little bit. And maybe when people are going to a collection, they are in the buying mindset. So they just want to get to a product and that hero images get in the way a little bit. I don't know. But that was one that I was really shocked about was hero images slow down conversion a little bit on collection pages. I would have never guessed that.
Yeah. And my guess is that it actually may be exactly what you just said, which is that it's because it's pushing the content down.
Yeah.
Because moving stuff above the fold, whatever you move above the fold is going to, that's like the most valuable real estate, right? From an intention perspective as well. In fact, we had a customer, and I think, I want to make sure that I'm getting it right. We have a case study on it. I think it's called the customer's Clear Within. And I'm pretty sure they saw like this really significant boost in their add to cart rate, something like by like 80%, using A/B testing. And I believe, if I'm thinking of the right client, it was actually as simple as them moving the button above the fold. And it was that, right?
Yeah.
And just to show that sometimes it's just these incredibly minute, changes, that can have a really substantial effect.
Oh, it's amazing. One I saw the other day too was, like a lot of stores have bulk discounts of some sort. Like you buy one, buy three, buy five, whatever. And sometimes they'll be in a widget. Sometimes they'll be. But have you been on True Classics t-shirt site?
Ooh, I think a while ago. Yes. I think I got served an ad and I checked them out.
So they on their product images, they sell t-shirts. I'm actually wearing a True Classic tee right now, but it's they literally show 6 t-shirts on the product image, kind of like all on a diagonal down. And then when you select, it's not a drop down. There's a button you click. I want a 3-pack, a 6-pack, or a 12-pack or whatever.
Yeah.
But it changes the product image to show 3, 6, 12. Obviously, if you're selecting a 6-pack, you're getting 6, but most stores still show the one shirt.
Totally.
In the thing. But seeing the 6-pack it drastically boosted conversion. Maybe the customer feels there's more value, but like a simple thing like that, if you sell bundles, show the bundle in the picture. Like
totally. Yeah. Or reinstills that trust, right? Of like, oh, okay, they know that that this is the right thing. You know? I know that actually there's a lot of merchants who that very specific experience, image change on variant change, has been proven to be something that drives conversion. And earlier, one thing I'll say, you were saying that it's like, hey, if you get 1% change a day, that compounds to 37x, year over year. what's really interesting is with conversion rate optimization for these brands that are doing, I mean, if you're doing 8 figures annual gross merchandising volume through your site, I mean, we're talking about like a fraction of a percent in conversion rate increase can end up, compounding over, like it doesn't even need, and you could do it just one time and you could end up seeing, just insane ROI from it. Right.
Yeah.
And, obviously it takes, I know that there's a lot of e-commerce enablement, SaaS that, promises the world. And I don't want to paint that it's like, oh, hey, you adopt our software and it's just, money bags. It requires going in and, thinking radically about your customer experience and what you can do, the experiments you want to run or the changes that you might want to make to personalize or make the experience more relevant. Obviously we are trying to also address some of that knowledge, that knowledge gap or, knowledge opportunity by baking it into our software. But if, right now for merchants that, that do have these hypotheses, put them to work. Again, going back to that opportunity cost that we were talking about, moving quickly to make that change. It's the potential return on investment is really substantial and ends up, largely probably eclipsing the cost of the tech. In relatively short order.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I want to talk a little bit too about a really cool feature I saw today when I was poking around. Is the SEO keyword analyzer.
Totally.
Yeah. So it looks awesome. It creates keyword clusters and and it actually creates like recommendations to optimize SEO for every page you create.
Yeah, for sure. Yes. And this is, this is part again of our interest in expanding Shogun's value proposition to be more of a revenue center. I think that in the past we've, largely been viewed by merchants as a fantastic utility, but it's, how can we actually be a revenue driver for you? And so, conversion rate optimization is certainly part of that, but we do have, interest in how can we actually drive more top of funnel? Because, acquisition, beyond conversion, acquisition is of extraordinary interest to merchants.
Yeah.
And obviously you have ads, paid, being a, tried and true, channel, but obviously dynamics of, in that space have changed, within the past 5 years. And I think that there is more emphasis and interest on organic. And, how do we build a solid foundation that's going to drive traffic over the long haul? And not to mention that you go and, create these SEO rich pages that are for content or for blog purposes. You can make them transactional quite easily. Obviously, if you're trying to, create something that really the purpose of is to inform, you don't want to overboard and make it, just a landing page that's trying to sell all kinds of products. But if you're creating product, content that truly educates about products, insert the product in there to make the transaction easy. Just be tasteful about the way you do it, right?
Well, and that's what's cool about Shogun is you can drop a product widget in, or even you can just buy now or add to cart, or you drop it anywhere. Like that's I think that I think the world has swung too far away. Like SEO used to be what you focused on. Like it was all about SEO. Then social media, I think has been a distraction. It's not a distraction. It's important, but we spend so much time focusing on social that I am blown away sometimes, like how easy it actually is to rank for something. Like you go on a store, they have no blog. They're not actually creating any content. They have great imagery, but there's no actual content there. And if you take what they're selling, like, I don't know, bone broth, fiber pill or something, like just whatever, something like there's unique, and you search it in Google and you'll get like recipes about how to make it or a project about it. But like, I'm like, man, this store could rank first for bone broth, fiber pill with one blog post. Like, literally. But it's become something that we've not thought about enough. And there's such a huge opportunity there.
Yeah, I think that a lot of, this is, speculation to a certain degree, but I think that it probably has to do with that it can take time for SEO, to an SEO strategy to work, right?
Mm-hmm.
Especially if you're looking to build a foundation, it probably takes, I don't know, a couple months, right? Not that long. But if you think about it, compared to the very quick hit that you can get on paid, obviously on very different unit economics, but it's I can see why it is appealing, to say, hey, we're gonna put our efforts here as opposed to investing a bunch in SEO. It's I think about, but again, I believe that every brand should have an SEO strategy. It's like, with your paid, maybe that's like eating ice cream and dessert, and who doesn't love that? We all do, but you also got to eat your broccoli, and that's it's SEO. So.
Especially now, we were just looking the other day with our apps, we go to ChatGPT, and if you say, actually, I was pleasantly surprised. I went to ChatGPT yesterday, and I said, write me a blog post about the best apps for Shopify. That was it. That was the only prompt. And Klaviyo, it said, the best apps is subject and varies person by person, but here are some popular ones, blah, blah, blah. Klaviyo is a popular one among Shopify users. That was number 1. Yotpo was number 2, and Bold Subscriptions was number 3. And I was like, oh, that's pretty awesome. Yeah. I don't know what we did to be in that spot, but it's scraping content, it's scraping blogs, it's scraping everything. But a lot of times ChatGPT is a year behind or so. So like you need to be investing in right now in content for, if I search what is the best bone broth medicine or whatever, create content around that, because it's not just for search. It's like the AIs are scraping it as we speak. So this is really, I think, super relevant to have that kind of baked into your page building, is like to think SEO right off the front.
Yeah, absolutely. And, and we've, to that point, we've also taken some of those value propositions on AI Copilot for, for text or content creation, right. And for blog creation, and baked those in, into Shogun. We've done that with a variety of features. I think we've added AI copilots for content, text, for meta fields, meta descriptions. We've also added one. We do have the ability to create completely custom coded elements. We added a bit of a code, like a code copilot, into that. The code editor natively in Shogun. So yeah, it's
it's awesome. Well, and I love the insights. So there's the insights widget when you create a page, and then it'll tell you your accessibility and best practices, any performance issues. And then the reporting is fantastic, because you can see when someone clicks or views a page and then ends up completing. So like to your point earlier, I mean, it'd be interesting. You could probably have some type of like a guarantee. Like if someone is actively building landing pages, proper like landing pages, they don't have to be a graphic designer, but like landing pages designed to tell the story of the product. And like, if they don't see the value, it would be mind blowing to me. Like, I'm just throwing that out there, but like, there's gotta be, anyways, because I love that you put that up front. You have the reports right up front, like people who viewed a landing page ended up clicking. There's a whole bunch. I can't remember them all, but like, you don't hide that. Like I've seen page builders that there's no data at all.
Yeah, absolutely. And for us, we realized that it's like all this going back and forth and looking at page performance, like in Google Insights, shouldn't that be baked in natively, right? Mm-hmm. And then the other thing to that effect is, once you get that score, okay, now you've got this task list of things that you need to fix. Why don't you bring it natively into the area where it needs to be fixed? And usually, in the past, for some of those items, it would be something that now you got to run that report, send it over to a developer. But for our experience, again, we're to the extent that we can have it resolved codelessly directly in the editor. We just point the merchant or the team member, directly to the area where the issue is.
Yeah, so smart, Nick. This has been awesome. I get excited talking about this. So I hope our listeners, are interested in learning more. Where can they go? Where can they, is there a free trial, or how do people get started? Where do
Yes, there absolutely is. Yeah, there's a 10-day free trial. And there's a plan for everybody. So whether you, if you're starting out, we've got a plan that starts at $39 a month. And then, we have a significant amount of our customers are, I would say, top of SMB, bottom of mid market. And we have plans that scale with businesses that are scaling. And you can go to getshogun.com. And then we're also in the app stores and partner directories for e-commerce platforms like Shopify, BigCommerce, etc. So if you're in those directories, you can search for Shogun and find us pretty easily.
Amazing. And you've been around forever. When did Shogun launch?
Totally. Yeah. Shogun started pretty much at the start of 2015. So we're 10 years. Yeah. We're 10 years. We're 10 years old.
Amazing.
Pretty recently. So yeah, it's been a phenomenal decade, and very excited to be continuing on and expanding our value to our customers.
Well, congrats on 10 years, and I hope the next 10 are even better. And
thank you.
Thanks so much for coming on, Nick. I really enjoyed the conversation.
Always. Yeah. Thank you so much for having me, Jay. Really appreciate being a guest.